Mara's Tear by Jone. The story of Mara's tear and Shandar's sorrow, a Breton tale of how the moons came to be in the sky. Long, long ago there were two young children growing up in a pair of neighboring villages, far, far from here. Mara's village and Shandar's both needed the land between them to farm enough for their people, and fought until many of the villagers died. Although Shandar was not allowed to play with Mara, she was very small, and the other children didn't like to play with her, so the two played together against their parents' command. They ran through the woods together, exploring their little world and learning to see things through each other's eyes. And they learned that they were really not very different at all. They couldn't understand why their parents hated each other so. Well, Shandar and Mara played together for many years and learned to love each other as they grew up. They knew that they could never marry since they were from different villages and the war was still going on. They tried and tried to figure out how they could be happy together and finally decided that they must run away from their villages. They would try to make a new life for themselves in another village, far, far away from where they grew up. One night, while planning their escape, they were discovered by the town guards. Shandar tried to fight them, but they tied him up and dragged him away to the town prison. Mara was taken home, and her father was very angry with her, and told her that she could not leave and would remain a prisoner in the village. Shandar was locked in a stockade in Mara's village, awaiting punishment for his disobedience. The Baron's rule was harsh and swift, and he was sentenced to death in the morning. Mara, meanwhile, unwilling to accept her fate, ran away into the woods. It was very dark, because back then they did not have any moons in the sky. Soon she found herself in an unfamiliar part of the woods and sat down on a rock to rest. Well, the rock was a secret entrance to a cave where a terrible ogrim lived. When he came back from his hunting, he found Mara curled up asleep on his rock, and thought to himself, a tasty little girl. I shall save her for my breakfast. He grabbed her and took her into his cave, moving the rock back so that she could not escape. She was sure to die and tried to escape, but the ogrim just laughed and laughed at her, until finally she gave up. When the villagers found out that Mara had run off, they were dreadfully worried. No one knew the woods very well, and all were afraid of the ogrim that lived there. Only Shandar was not afraid, and he begged for the village baron to set him free so that he could go look for Mara. The baron finally decided to let Shandar go, for no one else knew the woods as well, nor would brave the wilds. Shandar searched and searched, but could not find poor Mara. Finally, as he sat down on a rock to rest for a moment, he noticed a piece of cloth trapped underneath. It was a scrap of Mara's cloak. He pushed and pushed on the rock, and finally was able to roll it aside. He climbed down into the ogrim's cave, but it was very dark, and he could not see anything. The ogrim, upon hearing his front door moving, hid in the shadows to see what was coming into his home. When he saw that it was just a little man-boy, he grinned to himself and thought, "Now I have lunch too." When Shandar came near, the ogrim grabbed him and began to squeeze the life out of him. Back in the village, the people soon realized that they were foolish to let Shandar go off in the woods by himself. They gathered all of their weapons and set off to find the two lost children. As the villagers entered the clearing near the cave, they saw a slain ogrim near the rocky opening, and Mara holding the head of poor Shandar in her lap. Shandar had killed the ogrim, but not before it dealt Shandar a mortal wound. Mara's tears flowed freely from her eyes and splashed upon Shandar's face, reflecting the light from the villagers' torches. Shandar was filled with sorrow at the thought that he had saved Mara, only to lose her upon his death in the fight. He cried out to Mara's namesake, the goddess of love, to help them. The goddess Mara recognized their true love and wept at their loss. Not having power over death, she could do nothing to save Shandar. She reached down from her realm in the heavens and picked up Mara and Shandar in her arms and placed them high in the sky to preserve their enduring love. They could be together always and provide light in the dark night to others so that they may be safe from the evils in the world. The villagers were amazed at this sight and vowed to honor the love of Shandar and Mara by learning more about themselves and their neighbors, quelling the war that had raged between the villages for generations. And thus, every night we can see Mara's tear and Shandar's sorrow spending their lives together high in the heavens, lighting the way for the people of our world.